From Journey with VRD, you're listening to the Visions, Missions, and Manifestations podcast, the number one place for spirituality, healing, and transcendence. I'm your host, Vivian Raquel Diane. Now let's get into it. I'm really excited about today's episode because we're celebrating one of Journey with VRD's VIP clients, Andrea Zuppa's manifestation success story. In this episode, you'll learn exactly what Andrea did to go from unemployed, scared, and stuck in scarcity to working her dream job, tapping into her well of unlimited abundance, and manifesting not one, but two adorable puppies. Plus, she even utilized the powerful manifestation tools that she learned to help her daughter get pregnant and expand their family. Congratulations on all of these wins, Andrea. I am so excited for you. Let's kick off this journey by giving our listeners a peek into who you are. You want to start off by sharing your astrological trio, your sun, moon, and rising sign?
You know what? I don't remember. My sun sign is Aquarius, and I think the moon sign is Taurus.
Wow.
I did go through that, and I wrote it down, and I can't find where it is now. But I'm a very, very definite, strong Aquarius.
Oh my goodness. And let's dive a little bit deeper. Let's get into your cultural background and upbringing.
Okay. So I am by culture, I am Italian, Irish, German. So your average American. I have a little bit of, everybody in there. I was born in the 60s, 1963. And I think that added to some of the blockages that I found later on. I had very happy childhood, I think a normal childhood, but as I worked with you and kind of cracked into some of the blocks, we were taught to fear a lot of things, and that really, really stuck with me, and I didn't realize just how much. That stuck with me just due to the times, be worried about this, be worried about that. We were, I'm going to say middle class, maybe to the lower side. My dad drove a truck. My mom stayed at home, and then she went to work a little bit later. So there was always struggle. And that really stuck with me, and didn't realize it until I started kind of peeling back the layers. Just how much it sticks with you, and then it affects you. It continues to affect you.
How do you hear Journey with VRD? What program did you sign up for? And what did you come wanting to manifest?
So we met by coincidence, or maybe a divine intervention, I'm going to say. Both vendors at an event, and I wasn't even really going to go. And the owner said, "Why don't you come down and give it a try?" And I walk in, and you're there. And for some reason, there was just a good energy there. You just connect with some people, or you don't. There was a good energy there. But I had just kind of dipped my toe into manifestation and what that means, knowing that there's a thread through a lot of the things that I was reading to keep your thoughts positive. What you put out comes back. Keep your words positive. What you put out comes back threefold. And I understood that. I didn't know how to implement it. And this is why I think I was sent to you, or you were sent to me, or we collided in the universe. And then after my first session, I knew that this was the help I needed, that I'm going to get to the next step. I was just very stuck, and I needed help. So that's how we kind of intertwined. And then the first session, I said, all right, I'm on the right path. And then I looked more into your business to see what you had to offer. And I looked at all of them. And my scarcity said, "Ooh, you better just get the smallest possible one," because that's what my scarcity always tells me. Don't spend a lot of money. don't spend a lot of time, but my instinct said, go for it. And then the rational kind of autopilot mind was trying to talk me out of it. But I was just really that inner whatever you popped out maybe in the first session just made me know that I need to do this. I need to do this, and that's when we started on our journey. And I would look forward. You give things to do, kind of like homework, and I would look forward to doing them, and I would look forward to just discussing them with you, because these are the tools you were using to crack things open, which is wonderful. But then once they're up, you also got to figure out what to do with them.
Let's backtrack a little. So you came to me wanting to get rid of the scarcity and tap into your abundance. Really, you knew that you weren't going to be keeping a job that you had, and you wanted to feel safe with money and feel safe in whatever next job or career that you took. And when you kind of bit the bullet, jumped off the cliff, and invested in yourself, invested in your manifestation success, were there any shifts that you noticed in the outside world, or even in how you felt?
Yeah, absolutely. And I might be, I'm 61. So I wasn't looking to start a career. I was looking to do something to just maintain myself, but bring me joy. The shifts that came up were a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, and made me just not want to kind of deal with them, but I did anyway. And that's where I started, because at first, and I think you remember, I'd get on and I'd just be absolutely frenetic, and I just would need to bring myself back down, or you would help me bring myself back down, and then realize what the uncomfortable was. So when you can observe it and sort of name it, not attached to it, it doesn't seem as bad. And you're just working through something. So as I just did not resist and just let the plan unfold, I went down a path that I wasn't really thinking was a very viable path, and it just blew up. That's the only thing I can say. I'm actually making more money now working remote from my house, not having to deal with an office or driving, than I was driving to an office every day. So that wasn't my plan, but I opened myself to it, and this is what happened. And that's probably what I was blocking before, because I was always
right. So the fear prevented you from actually realizing the abundance around you. And when you were able to use some of the tools that we learned together, you were able to calm down your nervous system so that you could be present and actually use your logical mind. Instead of showing up to the universe from a place of fear, you were in a place of confidence, and you were able to manifest from that place and actually call in a job where you're working from home and making more money than you were in your previous job. How cool is that? What made you feel safe and confident in taking the plunge and going after the VIP Tier 1 journey with VRD?
Once I started realizing a lot of it was fear-based, and a lot of it was what I'll call, from a book I read, a domestication of your inner spirit. And I was able to just kind of start reintroducing it. Wasn't like I woke up one day and, okay, I had a session with Vivian, everything's perfect. No, but what I did is, you wake up the next day and you're changing your thoughts. So even before we started this session, I blessed our podcast, because it's just something that brings it up. And they're all small things that add up to big things, like changing the way you think to be positive and putting positive thoughts out is not easy. And it's a constant work that you have to do. But the more you do it, and when you have support and guidance that, okay, this is the way you could do it, and wow, you're really doing great. Not that I was not supported before, but if you're not specifically working with someone who is skilled in helping someone. They're not. They can be supportive, but they're not helping you with your journey and to bring back that person that kind of died with the domestication, with being the daughter, the student, the wife, the mother, like all these things. And then when I just had a moment to breathe, I was like, okay, there's other things, and I couldn't put it all together, which is where you come in. You help put the parts together. I guess because you're standing back, and plus you have a skill set, and you can see it and help the person recognize it. So the really big shifts in the beginning, but I think they felt big because I didn't know what they were. And then I had a session with you, and we refocused, and you were like, well, this is change. This is shift. It's not always comfortable. And then the light bulb goes on, like, oh, okay. So I'm a little resistant to change. So even though it's subtle in your thoughts and how you perceive things, it's still change. So that was uncomfortable until I learned what it was. And then I almost welcomed it.
What I like to say is that chaos is energy in motion. It means that you touched something, you did something different, and now the life that you've been living, something's about to change. Something's about to come through. Your manifestation is about to come into fruition. And when things change, when there is chaos, it can feel overwhelming. We cannot know what to do with that energy. But when we sit down and talk about it, we're able to identify the pieces and actually say, hey, wait a minute. This is actually all unfolding exactly the way that I visualized it, exactly the way that I wanted it to. Because everything always is happening in our greatest benefit for our success. And when we take a moment to step back and see that and understand that, the fear gets to be nurtured. We get to take that fear and say, hey, even though it looks scary because it's different, it's actually safe. It's actually okay. And I guess what you're saying, being supported and having me to work through all of this with just felt like a hand to hold through it all, and just reassurance and accountability as you did the homework, like you mentioned before. Those homeworks are like tasks. And I always tell my clients that think of each task as when you complete them, you're closer and closer to your manifestation. It's the daily practice. And so I want to talk a little bit about the 5 dimensions to your manifestation, the 5 levels that I like to teach my clients on how to manifest. And maybe we could talk about some of the key aspects in those dimensions that you've taken and you're going to go with for the rest of your life. You're going to utilize these tools for the rest of your life. And so the first one is getting clear. When we thought about getting clear, I guess this is the easy one. This is what you wanted to manifest, which we talked a little bit about in the beginning. So what was it that you wanted to manifest?
Just finding an avenue to go down that I can support myself and just feel comfortable and know everything's going to be fine. Even though everything is changing, everything is going to be fine.
Yes.
All is well.
And so we ended up getting crystal clear on what you were manifesting, which was a sense of safety and a sense of being taken care of and manifesting abundance. You wanted to have the money to live your life. And so then we went into step 2, which was taking inventory, looking at where you were coming from, because not everything was bad. It wasn't like we had to start from zero. It's not like you were just born and you didn't have things that were already working for you. You had so many things working in your favor. And so what were some of the things that you felt like, okay, you know what? This journey to my manifestation isn't going to be so hard, because what were some of the things that you had that were already working for you?
Well, I always had a wonderful work ethic, so I knew I'd be able to find something. I get to that second level and you start to take inventory. You realize, like, I grew up in scarcity, but I also went through a very long period of time of I just had whatever I wanted through a period of time where it was just like, and I guess it was to, I thought, counteract that scarcity when when we were growing up and I could only afford one pair of shoes. And some of the kids on the block would tease you about that. So, of course, then you have 4 closets full of shoes because that's going to fix that. I just was looking for a sense of peace with money and for it not to be my adversary, that it's my friend. And that's, the more I did that, the more just like opportunities came in. Even I got more yoga classes. That's not something to retire on, but it's a nice flow of income, and it's something I love doing. Don't tell any of the studio owners, but it's just something I love doing. It doesn't even feel like work to me. So I like to do that, but I wanted a nice flow of income. And you encouraged me to, as a matter of fact, now that I think of it, it was one of my homeworks to reach out to people that I normally wouldn't, like that are not in my circle, to see other avenues.
For income.
And I did that. Yes. And I did that, or connections or networking. And that's what really just blew up. I wound up with, I'm a paralegal. I work in a law firm. It was wearing me out because we do divorces, and it's a lot of negative energy. Some positive when you help a person out, but there's some, negative energy. I've been doing it for a really long time. And as you and anybody who's under 60 will learn, you get to 60 and you just don't care. It's just like, you know what? I don't care if I'm, saying the right thing, doing the right. Well, I always wanted to do good work, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't take care of everybody anymore. I needed to take care of myself. So now I'm doing the paperwork that I'm very good at. And I enjoy doing without having to deal with that. And like the attorneys are just paying me, and it's just rolling in the right direction. And then the other part of it is I'm not so scared about how everything's going to work out. I know it's going to be fine. I might not know all the steps all the time, but even when I stepped back and thought of it, and you said take the inventory, I've been where, my credit card was declined and I couldn't get the groceries. Like, I've been there. Or even you gave me another little tidbit of information. And when you're in that sense of scarcity, and you're buying your groceries and you're like, ugh, it's like the last $200 now are groceries that I have. And you just say to yourself, you know what, this is an expense I need. I have to put it out. And it's going to come back to me threefold. I'm just going to keep that in mind. Whatever effort I'm putting out, whatever I'm expending is going to come back to me threefold. Does it happen every single time? Like I put $200 out and I got $600 tomorrow? No. But I also have people that I'm working for that I never even anticipated. So that's where it's coming in.
So what you are saying is, instead of staying stuck in the scarcity, you're telling yourself, okay, I'm going to spend this money on groceries. It's going to come tenfold. And it's not like the money just appears in your wallet, but you're getting more and more work opportunities, more and more job opportunities, which is so freaking cool, because we have to remember that when we call in abundance, it's not always going to come in a way that we imagine. Sometimes it comes in an even better way. And so having these different job opportunities is just giving you more and more comfort in knowing that you're safe and taken care of, which is beautiful. So we covered clarity, we covered taking inventory, then we had the purge. What were some habits, or maybe some friends, some bosses or whatever, that you felt that has expired? They no longer resonated with you and they were no longer serving you. What were some things that you got rid of in order to manifest the abundance that you did?
A lot of material stuff, because as a result of the period of throwing money at things, I have an obscene amount of stuff. When you go in your closet and you don't remember buying something, it's just stupid. So that I did a tremendous purge, actually. I gave a lot of stuff away. I did consignment, which I didn't think
more abundance,
really
right? You sold some of your things and
I
made
got
money.
$90 I have $90 sitting in an account. I'm just letting it roll. That was just the summer stuff. I gave a lot of stuff away, threw some stuff out. I didn't really. I got rid of a smoking habit, so I'm happy about that.
Congratulations. That was huge.
Yes, yes, you helped me with that, and calling in your team, your angels, your guides. Help me out. That was another thing too. I Before I knew I had a team, angels, guides, spirit animals, ancestors. I couldn't connect with any of them.
Mm,
So through our meditations and just some exercises you gave me, that helped me connect with them. And they're my people. They're my team. Like it's like you're their child, and they're gonna, take care of you.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that helped me with that. Maybe a little warning for people as you grow and as you develop. If you're in a very long-term relationship, that's gonna ripple into that, because you're not taking any shit
Mm,
for any reason at all. Not that he's a big shit giver, but you tend to fall into patterns after a while. Thankfully, I probably was good in picking even him, because he's hanging on for the ride. I gotta say, he's
mm,
hanging on for the ride. I am not the same person from 24 years ago. You know
no.
what I mean? So,
Hmm.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's a
that's a
good
great
thing.
thing because we're human and we're always evolving. And when you start this journey, this manifestation journey, you reconnect with your power. You reconnect with who you really are. And one of the things that we do is we create boundaries because they help keep us safe and they help us stay in our power, in our worth, in a high vibration. When you hear the phrase like raise your frequency, get into a high vibration, what that means in very regular terms is set boundaries. Set boundaries. Because when you set boundaries,
Yes.
you raise your relationship with yourself, with your self worth. You connect with yourself and you love yourself again. And when you love yourself again, to the people closest to you, they're going to look at you funny. They're going to be like, what are you doing? That's not how you usually are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to get shocked a
Right.
little. And then, just like chaos, after a rainstorm comes the rainbow. Then it's like, oh, hey, I love you, right? The people who are meant to stay in your life
Mm-hmm.
will. And the people who don't like you when you're in your goodness are not going to stick around in your life. And that's okay, right? I always say,
Yes.
if you are going to hide yourself so that somebody else can feel big, if you're going to make yourself small so that somebody else can feel big, then what are you doing? You're not living life. You're sinning because you're not living life. You're making yourself small so somebody else's ego could be boosted. But when you actually use your voice and you say, "Hey, wait a second, that's not okay with me," or "Hey, wait a second, whatever it is," and you stick up for yourself, if that person's not meant to be in your life, they'll walk away because they want to step on somebody. That's how they feel better about themselves. But if they're meant to stay in your life,
Mm-hmm.
they're actually going to be like, wait a second, I'm sorry. They'll apologize. They'll self recognize what they did and they'll show up differently. And you are an excellent, excellent chooser of people. Hey guys, it's Vivian. And I'm briefly interrupting this podcast episode because I am so excited that it's July. Yeah, it's July. It's my birthday month. And therefore, I'm gifting you all 15% off all July for any journey with VRD that you choose to go on. If you're ready to take your manifestation practice to the next level, to learn the forever tools that you'll utilize for the rest of your life to yield manifestation results, like physical, tangible results in your life, then now's the time to schedule your journey with me. Use code July15. July is all caps and then the number is 15 for 15% off. So if you're ready to take the plunge and you are ready to upgrade your life in every aspect, you're ready to live with more ease and more flow, just breathe better, love life better, and just really feel connected with everything that you do and be in flow, then now's the time to utilize code July15. I cannot wait to celebrate my birthday with you. I cannot wait to manifest with you, Andrea, because you have the most wonderful community around you and relationships around you,
I do.
which takes us to the next one. So we talked about getting crystal clear. We talked about taking inventory. We talked about the purge. And now let's talk about some of the new habits, some of the new tools, new rituals that you learned on your journey with VRD.
more journaling,
Mm.
because you have a thought and then it leaves your brain, especially me. So the journal, the journaling part is good. Writing things down in a positive way about yourself is just a wonderful thing.
We
Yeah,
speak about ourselves is so important. It dictates who we're going to become, what we're going to manifest. If you
right,
talk about yourself in a shitty way, you're going to continue to manifest shitty things. But if you speak about
right,
yourself as if you're the goddess of goddess land, then you're going to manifest the most incredible miracles, incredible things. So that was a huge one that we worked
right.
through.
Hard. It was hard to, yeah, it was hard to do that. It was hard to make that shift a little bit because you have to look at yourself and go, you're awesome. And that was really hard for me to do.
Mm,
You are enough.
mm.
You are, not perfect because that's just a really tough word. You are exactly what you should be. And I guess what I was always looking for was to create that perfect person rather than just embracing the perfect person that I was.
Oh,
You know what
I
I
love
mean?
that.
That's why I guess I couldn't find it. And I'm doing my 40 days too. I like that.
Okay, so what's the 40 days exercise? Why don't you share that?
We're doing that right now, and it's from the Four Agreements, which it was funny. It was an assignment, but I had already read it, so it was my summer read, so I was a bit familiar. And the Four Agreements really always just resonated with me. But the first one was to be impeccable with your word,
Mhm.
and I struggled with that. Like, does that mean like you can never fib, you can never lie? I tell fibs to, make people not hurt people's feelings sometimes. So that was kind of a tough one. But what I'm doing is, every morning I am going to state something I will do, something I will accomplish, something I will embody for that day. And I need to account for the fact that I did it at the end of the day. And you can't fib about it because that kind of defeats the whole purpose. So that's been keeping me on task with both being impeccable with your word, meaning I say something, I stick to it, I stick to my promises, and I'm really trying to, if I feel like I have to fib to, save somebody's feelings, to just approach it a different way. But I can see that being a lifetime ritual.
So, one of the reasons why I give my clients this homework of 40-day impeccable word is because when what you speak is always truth, then you can start trusting yourself. And when you could start trusting yourself, your belief in yourself grows. And when your belief in yourself grows, then what you say must be true. And what you say you'll manifest will manifest. Isn't that
Right.
so cool? Isn't that so
It
cool?
is. It is because when you sit back and you think about it and you're like, oh, okay. So if I just put a positive thought out there, if I just say it, then it's going to come back to me. No, it's the intention behind what you're saying. It's the thought. It's the feeling. Like, I can say, 100 times a day, I am going to be 5'9". That's never going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's just never going to happen. I always wanted to be tall when I was younger. So I'm perfectly fine with my little self right now. But like things like that, that's where I needed a little bit more guidance and help to understand manifestation isn't, just bringing something about. It's bringing stuff out. It's bringing stuff in. You know what I
For
mean? It's
sure.
kind of coming, yeah, kind of coming from all
It's
directions.
unpacking why you want to be 5'9", then uncovering the layers behind that, uncovering the limiting beliefs, insecurities, all of that, letting it all out. And then from that place, with taking the ego, putting the ego aside, being like, okay, what do I really want? Then setting a pure, authentic intention that are aligned with your pure values. And then taking aligned action and by keeping your word. And then by like every morning you Voxer message me, you tell me what you're going to accomplish that day, what you're going to do. And then at night, you always tell me that you did it, which is amazing. What you're doing is you're not only setting an intention, you're not only taking action, but you're also providing yourself with evidence that you actually are really powerful. You do what you say, and what you say happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's really profound.
Yes. It's easy to talk yourself out of things like that. It's
Mm,
easy to talk yourself into not being impeccable with your work.
mm,
And that's your, I'm not going to say demons. I think that's all your predisposed notions that have just been sort of cast upon you since you could understand people telling you no. You
mm.
start out your life, you're free, everything is awesome. I got this really weird feeling. It was like, I think the day I came home from my day with you. The
Your
next day I'm
VIP
out
day.
walking the dog on my VIP day, and I took my little puppy out for a walk, and just something was going on, the bugs or something. And I had that sense of awe that you do when you're a kid and you're
Oh,
walking through something. I know. And like when you get older, you just don't get that as much and you forget what that feels like. But then when it comes back, you're like, oh, like that is, and it didn't stay with me a long time. It was just that brief, like, oh, nature and just that sense of awe. So it's me kind of resurrecting that girl that used to feel awe about things,
parts of yourself.
honeysuckle. Oh my God, I love that. But now it's just like, okay, honeysuckle. So I want to get back to that just basic joy and not, be on autopilot so much.
Right. And like rediscovering not only yourself, but your environment. And it sounds like some of these tools are going to be the tools that you use for the rest of your life to connect with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
even your inner child. And so from this
Yeah, for
place,
sure.
so after you've taken on some new habits and you're continuing to take on some new habits, your manifestations really came through. You really manifested like so much abundance in your life. Do you want to talk about some of the things that you manifested through our 3 month journey together?
Oh my gosh, like where to start? I was without animals and I got some puppies. I got more than I kind of bargained for. I only was looking for one. I wound up with two. Then my daughter's been married for about a year and a half. Her and her husband, just very good people.
Oh,
So she was trying to get pregnant and was struggling a bit. And, when she called me with one challenge, I was like, please, I want to help her manifest, please. And that manifestation came about pretty quickly. And I even discussed this with my daughter because she's very much into this journey, which I'm so happy because I didn't even get into this type of stuff until I was in my 50s. And I wanted to give these tools to my kids, even
oh,
though, it didn't start when they were younger, but it started now that they're, expanding their field. I want to give them these tools. What they do with them is up to them, but I at least want to offer it. Job opportunities all over the place so that I don't and with nice people, I did network outside and then I did network with people who I knew. I didn't work for them, but I knew them through the industry and I'm working for them now and it's turning out quite nicely. Those are kind of more tangible things. I manifested my inner child. I met her again.
mm,
I manifested my guides. I was able to meet my team and kind of, something simple like, what's your name?
asking your guides
Okay.
what their name is.
What,
Right.
yeah, like, what's your name? Because they all seem so mysterious and so far away from me. And it's because that's the way I pictured them. Because when I was younger, that type of stuff would have been witchy woo woo and you would have been okay, you're crazy, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
yeah, it just wasn't something when I was younger that was acceptable to think about. So I guess as an adult I had that block because it's like,
mm.
So that manifestation was awesome. One of the ways that I knew I was connecting with them, angel numbers. They just start, like, I'd see 111, 222, 333, and I'm like, why do I keep on seeing that? So I researched it, and there's such things as angel numbers, and they all mean a little something different. Like, I was seeing 222 a lot, and it's literally, don't worry, your angels are all around you. They got you. Don't
Yes.
worry. Stuff like that, where it was like, okay, they do talk to me. I'm just not listening.
Oh my gosh. So, what would you say
You know,
are three of your greatest gifts that you received from this journey that we had together?
self-confidence,
Mm,
knowing my self-worth.
mm.
And I really like talking my inner child. I lost her and I feel bad for her. And I'm very nurturing of her right now. I also, it came through a lot of threads that your relationship with your father, and it doesn't have to be a bad one, is very influential on you. So my dad lost his job in the 70s, and it made him vulnerable. And that was so weird for me. You know what I mean? That was weird. And it took me a long time to put those two things together.
When you healed that, you were able to actually leave some of the scarcity and the fear, and you were able to step into like a knowing, a deep trust in the abundance that was available to you and that is available to you.
Right. I didn't have to, blame my father. I don't think he did anything wrong. I did forgive him. But when you so on autopilot, and you have so much of that stuff kind of on top of you from all your years, it's just hard to see it sometimes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just
For
hard to
sure.
see something that's right in front of your face.
Exactly. And how, like, I like to explain exactly what you're saying is like, think of a toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll. When you're younger, something that doesn't feel so good could happen. But because the toilet paper roll is empty, that negative, not so good feeling kind of just could move through and we don't feel it as much. And then something happens again, and then something happens again. And what happens is this toilet paper roll becomes clogged and we don't have any more space for shitty feeling things to happen because we've had enough. And so as we get older, the smallest thing will happen and we'll find ourselves just freaking out, not being able to deal with it, or we dissociate or we swallow it and we don't talk about it. And what happens is we end up showing up to life from that place, from that space of frustration. And so instead of seeing things clearly, we get stuck in the little details. And so when you are able to have a coach, work through your manifestation journey, you're able to release so much of that and give back what's not yours and remove the particles and the pieces that you picked up along the way that just no longer serve you. And what happens in response to that is that you feel so much lighter and you're able to see life with so much more clarity. And the things that used to scare you, you laugh at because it no longer has a hold on you that it used to. It's funny how, like, we don't believe that our nightmares are true, that they'll happen, but we're so scared of our fears that, like, it's as if the fear happened. We'll believe in our fears, but
Mm-hmm.
we like brush off our nightmares when really both of them are the same things. They're not real.
Yeah.
Right? They're figments of the imagination, or you're taking something that happened in the past and you're visualizing them into the future. And so it's just a little reminder. Just remember that your fears are just nightmares. They're not real. They haven't happened. And only 20% of our worries actually happen. 80% of the things that we worry about never happen. And so it's okay to take a deep breath and breathe and just know, like you said, Andrea, that you are exactly where you're meant to be, that everything is working out for you, and you are the captain of your life. You are the writer of your journey. You get to dictate what happens next. Are you going to feed the fear, or are you going to feed the stuff that light you up? And that's exactly what you did.
You
You
know
told the
what?
fear, yeah.
And you reminded me of something, another exercise, and I loved it, and it really helps. Rewrite your story, rewrite
Mm.
it from a different perspective. And that helped so much, because sometimes the scarred person like reemerges as the heroine because you just rewrote your story a bit. That takes a little bit more work, a little quiet time. Or as things come up, I try to rewrite it,
Oh, I
like
love that.
what would the perfect case scenario of this day that might have been a disaster in one perception, but how can you rewrite it to be, not
Yes.
like to be the best day ever?
Oh, I love that. I'm so happy you took that away with you. And so I have to ask you, Andrea,
Yes.
what are three lessons that you learned about your self-worth? What are three realizations you had about your power?
That I wasn't tapping it.
You weren't tapping into it.
I wasn't tapping even, just I wasn't even tapping a little bit, that I am a very powerful wielder of it. It was almost like, you were scared to do something, scared to throw a machete, and then,
Mm.
you do it and you nailed it. You
Oh, I
took
love
the
that.
head off on the first one. It's like, holy crap. And then number three, that I have, and I know I keep on going back to it but I love her, my inner child. Like
Oh,
I didn't pay attention to her for a long time. And once we got to talking, I realized that they didn't pay attention to her. I don't know, third child, I don't know. But she often felt like it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like,
mm,
it just didn't matter. Again, not that my parents didn't love me, or that was my perception of like, you came along, maybe I was the spare or something, I don't know.
no.
But really, yeah, talking to that inner child and going, you know what, you're fine, I'm here, I am never going to leave, we are here. And that's helped tremendously, with, I guess, maybe any of the healing to take place. That helps. So, it helps.
Mm, I
Because
love that.
that's the child's wounded. So
I
I'm
absolutely.
helping her.
You're helping her and you're feeling safer along the way to be yourself, which is huge,
Mm-hmm.
which is huge. And so, one question I ask every single guest on the podcast is, what is your sixth sense, if you had one, or what is your spiritual gift?
I would say, and I don't know if it's empathy,
Mm,
connection. Like I definitely am empathic. I don't know if that's my strongest, although I'm working on it. I don't know if that's my strongest power. I think my strongest power is to recognize the energy and, follow it.
mm,
Well, like with you, for whatever reason, I was just like, I didn't even really know what manifestation was, but it just interested me. And, just your energy, let's face it, I'm 40 years older than you. So it's like, I'm looking for somebody who's younger than my kids. And like, at first I thought to myself, like, how do you reach out to somebody like that? But it was just, my brain knew that
mm,
was the right energy, that was the right connection. So, like you said, I have a nice community around me. I think
mm.
that's my superpower.
Oh,
I
yes.
attract
Calling
it.
in the right people.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what's something you know now that you didn't know before about manifestation? What's like one thing that you would want to teach everybody because it's been your most life-changing manifestation tool?
Just that it's so very possible. I think a lot of people do not think it's possible. And it might be whatever vision they have attached to it. I think a lot of people might think it's sort of like, ooh, I've manifested something.
Like
It's a
magic?
work, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, like, woo, here it goes. And and that is not, it's just bringing up, it's cracking out the stuff that's there.
And so I must ask you, you manifested abundance. You know how to call it in now. It's something that you've almost become an expert at. And so what's next on your list? Oh,
A different space. And I know we've
mm,
talked about that a lot. Our kids are grown, they're having kids now. So, and career or work or income flow I manifested lets me go wherever the hell I want to go.
Right. Because you get
So
to work
that's
from home.
something.
You're remote.
Yeah. So that's something I'm looking where to in a big house on a big piece of property, and it's just a lot. And I've come to realize I don't need all this stuff. I kind of knew it before, but oh, it's the nice house, and I don't need all this stuff. It
Mm,
just takes away from me working on me in the world.
right.
When you have to clean 4 bedrooms that you don't even go in half the time, you go in one of them.
Right.
So just yeah, like that. Just really gonna bring in more joy. I want to manifest more joy because
Mm.
I got the stuff I want. I have the stuff I want. I want to be able to enjoy it, feel peaceful, feel joyful. And that's what I want to just manifest more of.
Ooh, I love that, Andrea. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share about your manifestation journey with our listeners?
You really need to give it a try. You might have little crypts of doubt that come in from your preconditioning, but that's just the fear. And if I let that hold me back, I would have missed out on all of this. And that's your instinct sometimes, like or your protection instinct. My instinct was this is right, go for it. But then all the old protections came in, and oh you better not do this. I think that it's almost a necessity in life at this point, and it's something I want to teach my kids. It's something that I want my grandkids to know. It needs to just be part of everyday life and not
Mm.
so that's what I want to do. I want to bring it in more to everyday life. And I do talk about to people about manifesting. I speak about it in my classes.
Oh, I
I
love
even
that.
use some of the tools in my classes. Like when you leave today, I tell my class, you look in that rear view mirror and you say, I am awesome. You brought
Yes.
yourself out to a class. You could have talked yourself out of it. So I try to do almost the same thing you do for me on a very smaller scale in my class, and just send a little Vivian out.
Send a little Vivian out. So, all right. So, who do you think Journey with VRD is for? Who would you recommend coaching with me? Who would you say would benefit the most?
Everyone. One of your superpowers was to be able to plug into me, and then plug, like our VIP day was perfect. It was really geared towards me, and a perfect fit. If you wanted to kind of take it in smaller pieces, I would say just do one session and tell me you don't want to go do another, because that's tell me that. I Please tell me that you do one session and tell me that you don't want to do another, and get some more information. As far as your community, your population, I think you could go from college, maybe even high school, because I would like people to start to know about this earlier, to I think even people my age benefit maybe even more,
Right.
because we have more crap that we
Yeah.
need to work our way through from the years, like until you become aware of it,
Mm,
that shit's just piling up. So
right.
maybe, a 22-year-old doesn't have as much shit piled up, and you can kind of help them avoid it. People
Mm-hmm.
my age, maybe 10 years before, 10 years after, we got a lot of stuff. Like that's a good, I think, community. Of course, I'm in there, but I think even just starting out in the middle, when you have the kids, the mortgage, you're running this soccer practice, if I could have just been a little bit more aware there, and
Mm-hmm.
took a minute to spend on myself, time wise and money wise. Yeah, some of the things that kind of were so challenging might have not been so bad, and I would have made better choices, not regretting them, forgiving myself for the bad ones that I made, and
No.
thinking how awesome I am because I made them work for me now.
Mm.
So yeah, the gamut.
So
You
investing in
can
your,
help
yeah.
anybody.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
you can really help anybody because you customize to the individual, and not a lot of places do that. They have a cookie cutter process or a session, and that's why probably 1 out of 10 people would benefit. Where I couldn't understand coming from a session and not taking something from it. And then of course, if you invest on monthly sessions, you get that roll. You know what I
Yeah, you
mean?
get
You
the
get that
motivation,
roll
right?
of stuff. Yeah. And then, of course, at the end of the tunnel, if there's a super duper day, for me, I needed to celebrate myself.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy, Andrea. Thank you so much. This has been so nice.
Oh,
I
you're
absolutely
welcome.
loved
Yes.
it. And
Yes.
yeah,
I
it was a
highly recommend. That's what I'll say. I highly recommend you.
oh, I love it. I love it, love it, love it, Andrea. You're amazing. Thank you.